Yes. Okay, just deep breath and just pay attention, scan your body and feel if there's any tension somewhere. Just release any blockage that wants to hold on to something and just settle in your chair, wherever you're sitting comfortably. We're going to take a deep breath and a voice breath, just to release everything. Another one. Very good. Excellent. And just pay attention if there's any emotions floating somewhere within you, around you. Just acknowledge, embrace. And any thoughts as well. And when you feel ready, just maybe with 1 or 2 words, how are you arriving? Physically, emotionally, mentally? How do you arrive? How are you right now at this moment? So I feel physically I'm quite energized right now. Emotionally, I'm excited. And mentally, I wonder. My mind is always wondering, okay, how is it going to be? And I embrace all of that. So I invite you to share. Just say out loud a few words. How do you arrive here right now?
I'll volunteer.
Yeah, thank you.
Your question actually kind of perplexes me. How do I arrive here? It sends my mind going, but I haven't arrived anywhere. I'm here. So I'm sorry. But your explanation, physically, I'm feeling tired. I've been a caregiver for the last 3 weeks solid. Emotionally, I'm feeling drained, but grateful for this moment. Mentally, I'm very happy to have a break, an opportunity for me to allow someone else to do the thinking, and I get to take a ride.
Enjoy the ride.
Exactly.
So on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you, rate your energy level globally?
Well, physically, my energy level is in pretty good shape, but emotionally, I'm feeling a little pulled because of the caregiving responsibilities. I'm having to redefine how much time I need to me and preserve myself versus how much I have to give to others. So I'm feeling a little conflicted at that point.
Okay.
So on a scale of emotional energy, I'm probably more like around a 5.
Okay.
Physical energy, more like around an 8. And intellectually, I don't know, I vacillate between 5 and 8.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Anybody else would like to share?
I can also share. I realized when you asked the question that I am not physically tired. I am actually quite well. I feel well physically. I don't feel any sort of, but emotionally, I think that's where I'm tired. You get tired when you work a lot, and I worked the last couple of weeks to meet many people in the same place. And I'm an artist also, so I'm also used to have my safe space with my quietness and my, so I think that's where I'm tired. But I also felt that I'm both lying on a 9 emotionally with lots of energy, but then I'm also number 3 maybe. So I have this two, depending on situation, if it makes sense.
Yeah, totally.
And
Yeah.
mentally, I think I'm trying to find out how can I get more time to do what I want.
Yeah, time will, we cannot put pause. We cannot take 2 hours from yesterday. We don't have much control over time. We have more control over what we do with that time, right? But, we're trying to find more time. We're trying to run after time and trying to get more time. Sometimes it's more about choices that we make during these times. So, yeah. Hi, Janelle. Hi. So nice to see you. You're on mute, actually. I cannot hear you. Yeah, you should see a little microphone. And then you can just click on it. There you go.
Oh, hi.
Hi.
I've got a cold, so I'm in.
Perfect. Self-care is essential. So that's great. That's great. Thank you. Very nice to see you.
Nice to see you too.
Yeah. Anybody else would like to share? Where are you at on the scale, maybe of 1 to 10, your energy? So Janelle, probably physically you're low energy because of your cold. Yeah.
Right. I don't feel good.
Okay.
Well, it is a cold though.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
test.
Okay. Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, of course, our energy is what's the most important, right? The most valuable, way more than time. It's energy, because you can have all the time in the world, no energy, nothing to do, nothing to enjoy, nothing to, we cannot take care of ourselves. We cannot, when you're like, Janelle, you're sick right now. So it's hard to take care of ourselves when we are sick, right? It's just to drag ourselves out of bed to take a shower or make dinner or anything could be more, difficult. It's hard to also be present to our relationship, our families, our friends, our colleagues, anybody, just to be present, right? With people, it takes energy. It might be more physical, more emotional, more mental energy, depending, but still, right? And of course, it's hard to contribute to the community, whether it's professionally or doing anything volunteer, taking care of the family, because the home is a second shift, right? It's not just work. That's so energy is the most important thing we have, right? But energy is actually a never-ending force. It cannot be destroyed. It can only shift, we can only shift state of consciousness, the state of flow, right? Of this energy. So everything is energy. Our cells, have optimal oxygens. Your body is energy. Your thoughts are energy. We know that, right? Our emotions are energy. Your soul is energy. We're made of energy. This is the life force, invisible resources from the source. It's the human fuel, basically. So how do we tap into this source, right? This frequency. It's will, when we have the will to do something, it provides energy. We are empowered in nature. And so where you put your attention is where you put your energy. So even if you don't do nothing, but you put your attention in your thoughts and you're imagining the worst case scenario, or it will drain your battery, even though you don't need to do anything physically to drain your battery. Actually, it's just like, the cell phone. I like to use a cell phone. When you're at least 60%, 6 on 10 battery, you have access to all its functionality. But when it's lower than that, you might not be able to upload or do an upgrade, or even make a phone call if it's too low, right? So, and in order for this phone to stay, at least 60% charged, it's not about not using it, it's about charging it, right? So the recharge and replenishing and being aware, mindful about where you put your attention, because that's where your energy is. And where you put your attention, whether it's on the thought or on an activity or, something, is it draining you or is it replenishes you? The same thing. So Janelle, you're sick right now. So maybe you love to, I don't know what you like to do in terms of physical activity that re-energizes you. Like, what do you usually do, Janelle, to recharge and replenish, physically? You are on mute, my dear. We cannot hear you. There you go.
Okay, well, I haven't, what I'm doing is just resting.
No,
And-
but usually, I mean, usually when you're energized, what do you like to do to, get energy and stuff?
Well, in the morning, I do some qigong.
Okay, Qigong, perfect.
And
Yeah.
then, then my spiritual practices.
Yeah. So Qigong. So right now you're sick. Do you have the energy to do Qigong?
Oh, no.
There
No.
you go. Yeah. And if you would force yourself, well, it would deplete your reservoir more than replenishes like it usually does, right? So same thing that you usually do to replenish, sometimes it drains us. If our battery, just like the phone, when it's too low, it's just going to drain even more. So if you like to run for 10K or 5K, yeah, okay. But when you are not, sometimes it replenishes you and sometimes it drains you. So spending quality time with your loved one, making dinner for them, and it could be replenishing. But if you're too exhausted, doing that will deplete you more than recharge you. And so mindfulness is very important to see where you're at. Take the pulse regularly. Where are you at in your level of energy? What reservoir? Because you have the physical, emotional, mental reservoir, right? And so where you put your focus there, that's where you have your creative energy goes. So, sometimes we keep nourishing low vibration by staying angry or in fear or resistance. If I'm resisting being sick or resisting having whatever situation in my life, guilt, shame, rejection, whatever it is, right? It drains, right? But if we let go, right? And we embrace, and we all know how to do that, right? It gives you back your creative energy. So what makes you feel alive? What moves you? It's this life force, it's your ally, your drive, your resources. And so I invite us to just, kind of get into this nectar of the resource, which is, the source, which is our vital energy. It's, the fuel for growth and all kinds, it's peace, it's power, it's abundance, it's love, it's divine grace, right? It exists in the physical world and in the spiritual world, and it's intertwined. So when you are energized and replenished, you feel creative, happier, more content. We're accepting ourselves better. We see life in a better view, right? Events, situation, people, ourselves. We're more in harmony with this nature and the divine will. And so we are way more enjoying life when it's in balance, than when you struggle to keep going, when it would be more productive to love yourself enough to stop and replenish. It's not the quantity that's so important, it's the quality of what you do to revitalize yourself. It's the quality. Maybe Janelle needs to sleep. Maybe it's to do a bit of qigong, but less than usual. Maybe it would be to do a little walk. Maybe it's just to have a laugh with someone, knowing, being mindful about what do I need right now to replenish is the quality of what we do and the regularity. We don't wait till the end of the day to eat or to drink water. We don't wait till the end of the week to sleep. Okay, so it's very important. These are two key words, like the replenishment doesn't have to be very long. It's the quality of what you choose to do and the regularity. We gain the most of our chi, the energy, when we are in connection. Otherwise, it's like trying to draw power when there's already a plug in the socket, right? So what part of you needs more connection? Is it emotionally? I ask you in these three kind of reservoir. Is it physically? Is it, your spirit? What would bring you the most joy and well-being right now? Whether it's exercise, meditation, time alone to reconnect with yourself, time with friends and family, so could be spending time in nature, maybe that's if it's the case, is it more just at sea or in the mountain, an open field blooming with the vibrant flowers and rich grasses, or clear sunny day, or cool dark forest and abundance, lush of green, even just becoming aware of what feels good for you at any time might be different, like I said, in another moment. It's the way to open your heart and to receive this source, this divine nectar, right? That seeks you to nourish and to replenishes you, so take a few moments regularly to check in with yourself. Take the pulse, what do you need to strengthen, yourself and increase your ability to consciously meet your own need? Because yes, taking care of other is it's very replenishing somehow, but in an empty cup, you're just draining yourself even more. Okay, so it's essential to be able to cultivate this chi energy and be aware that just when this phone dies, does that mean that this phone is no good for nothing and throw this in the garbage? Not at all. It has nothing to do with being weak, lazy, incompetent, nothing like that. It's a matter of lack of resources or availability of resource, because when your batteries are lower, your reservoir of energy, you don't have access to your skills and your abilities. Just think about, when you have kids, right? As a parent, my skills set on a scale of 1 to 10 might be 8, 9, even 10, maybe, whatever it is. But when you're tired and exhausted and, your skills are not the same. Your social skills, your parental skills, your professional skills, it's normal. Okay. So it's not about time, because time, we cannot manage time. Okay. We cannot take pause or take 2 hours from yesterday. Like I said, it's really, how. So make an agreement with yourself. Let's just start with that. And, regardless what's happening, so I invite you to maybe close your eyes right now and just feel into this and just absorb and embrace that. Okay. So I now choose, feel, breathe, inhabit, and feel and observe that experience of I choose to release anything that actually drains my energy, to be aware of that. I choose to release anything from my body, from my mind, from my emotions, in my energy field. Om Mani Padme Hum. I breathe in energy. I breathe out. Release anything that doesn't serve me. And pay attention to your heart center. Just sit there. Let's hang out in the heart for a moment. And you sit quietly. You imagine yourself, like above your head, this massive golden lotus flower. And you focus on your own heart chakra, sending love to that lotus blossom above your head. Pure droplets of golden energy, divine nectar, drips down through your head into your body. Feel it going wherever it most needed. Feel, breathe into this golden energy. Inhabit, let it go through every corner of your body, of your existence. Feel the energy of this golden light within your body, in your heart, even in your mind. Let yourself inhabit and allow it to nourish you. Allow it to replenish, to embrace this golden light in all the planes of your existence. Breathe into it. Inhabit. Feel it. Observe your body, the energy vibrating in your body, radiating. Feel your emotional plane filled with this golden joy, simple joy. Your mental plane, thoughts of joy and peace, gratitude of being filled by this source. Say within yourself with me, today and every day, I amplify the connection to myself and to life. This connection that I need to be able to live my highest vibrational life, where I am well replenished, joyful, and connected to the endless flow of divine energy and life force in our universe. Bring me clear guidance about how to be best, how to best cultivate the chi, how to be open to receive the nectar of life force and love of Divine Mother for my highest good. Om Mani Padme Hum. Make a commitment to yourself to be receptive, to be mindful of where you're at, what drains you, what replenishes you, what you need, and give you that time. Allow yourself to replenish, to be optimal for yourself, to be able to enjoy life, but to be present and serve and support others in any way you can at this moment. Sorry. So give yourself that energy that you need to show up for what matters most to you. And if it's to take care of yourself because you're sick, that's what you need to do. Optimal energy must be part of our it should be the top priority, because if you don't have the energy, you won't be able to do anything on your list to do. Okay. I would like to just, for you maybe to just, one word, do you feel, or just thumbs up or in the chat, wherever feels right for you, to slow down, coming back here and now, and tell me, do you feel that your energy shift comparatively to when you identified that level on the scale of 1 to 10 for you when we arrived? Doesn't have to be a lot. Maybe it didn't change, and it's okay. We're not expecting anything here. We're not attached to any result, but committed to put our attention on whatever will replenishes our energy. One word of how you feel right now. Or maybe you just want to stay there and bathe there for a while. Because finally we allow our body to just settle down, settle in, and just relax.
Well,
Stabilized. Okay, much calmer. Great.
I feel gratitude, and I feel better. My whole body feels better.
Wow. Amazing, right? See, it's not the quantity, and it doesn't have to be major, intensive stuff, right? Just allowing, giving ourselves permission to be connected to the source. We can do this pretty fast anywhere we are, right? We can take a moment. I'm sure we can have 2 minutes, 1 minute, right? Wherever we are, to just stop and give ourselves this moment. Sometimes it's going to be more than that, but just to show how quickly we can actually restabilize, calm ourselves, ground ourselves, get back on the parasympathetic nervous system, because often we are in the stress response, fight or flight. Even a cold is a stressor for the body. And sometimes we go into flight, trying to, or force it out. Well, force it out is a way to resist it, right? So let's dive a little bit, I have this little compass that I like to use to help ourselves, to stay balanced, right? How do we stay balanced between all these dimensions of our life, right? We have these reservoir, we talked about these reservoir of energy. So, being balanced means to have our own self foundation, right? To be optimal professionally and personally, we need to be in balance to accomplish the task, the responsibility, to enjoy life, like I said, to enjoy time. So I can have work, I can have a family, and I can have a shelter. Doesn't mean that I'm balanced, right? To be in balance, what's the element that you think that it needs to be in balance? Because like I say, you can have a work, you can have a family, you can have money. Doesn't mean you're balanced, right? What do you need? What do you think would be the key element here? It's actually the satisfaction. Because if you don't like, yeah, go ahead. Did you want to say something?
The word balance, no?
Yeah.
Balance the equilibrium roles in the society.
So, and balance doesn't mean 8 hours on self, 8 hours on social, and 8 hours on society, because that again doesn't necessarily mean that it's balanced, right? Balance is not the quantity of time. Again, it's the quality of what you do. So spending that quality 2 minutes that we just did at the beginning was a small amount of time, but it was quality, pure presence, focused. Quality of it will actually, have its impact. So it's this satisfaction, right, that has meaning, right? Because when we do things that has no meaning, it doesn't replenishes us. You can spend a lot of time in your work and you're concentrated and it's meaningful. It makes sense to you. It's aligned with your interests, with your skills, with your abilities, and it makes you happy and it gives you the reason to get up in the morning, right? It's our value. What's important to me? What gives me pleasure? Even at work, even doing the laundry and even doing all these chores, we need to find pleasure. Just think about, if you have, anybody has children here? Because I'm not going to talk about that if you don't. So if you have children, in the morning, when we get up and we get ready, right, to prepare the kids and go to work and then go to school, when we are energized, we can even sing, we can even have fun preparing these things. We can even be in advance, say, oh my God, we're in advance this morning. And when we get up and we're tired, or the kids are tired, or we're exhausted or stressed out, same tasks, same chores, but oh my God, is it draining? And like sometimes it's struggling and kids are crying and we don't get there, right? It's the same time, same chores, but the experience is so much harder not as efficient, takes more time, and we're crying, we're not happy, right? So it has to be aligned, right? And so this life satisfaction, the foundation, it's the self, because no energy, no battery, no access to your skills and abilities, and no access to anything else. So again, this 60% is about the battery. So we have all these reservoirs. Okay, we talked about the physical, emotional, mental reservoir, but you also have the spiritual reservoir, right? So we need, just like the cell phone, right? We need to be at least 60%, right? It's just like the cell phone battery. 60%, we're good to go. Okay. So physical energy helps you to give you energy physically, eating well, sleeping well, resting, doing exercise, qigong, that will actually helps you, to replenish. Of course, when we are under stress, we don't sleep well, because when the mammoth was at the door of the cave, it was not time to sleep. So whatever we considered as stressful, threatening somehow, whether it's real imaginary, whether it's a threat of dying, a threat of losing your relationship or your integrity, whatever it is, the brain will get into fight or flight response. And you, as much as you eat well, you won't intake the good nutriment, because digestion is one of the things that is stopped when you are under stress. So, but to stay optimal, right, we need to sleep, exercise, all kinds of physical stuff, right? Nutrition. Again, if you don't like carrots, you don't have to eat carrots. You can eat something else. You need to have pleasure. Remember that pleasure thing of satisfaction, right? So it's important to have, good nutriment and avoid certain things like processed foods and stuff like that. And we don't realize, but where do you get your energy level? Because if you don't eat healthy food as human, yes, we can dive into that source for sure, like we did. But as human, we need fuel that is, and of course, the more we elevate in terms of spiritual, state of consciousness, the less we need to eat, right? And sleep and all that. We know that, but that's, when we are really dealing with life, we're not necessarily in these higher states. And so it's important to help ourselves with the good food, with the, and exercise, whatever you like to do that will replenishes, your reservoir. Your emotional reservoir is actually the dimension that it's, our ability to self-regulate. Are you able to feel joy and peace and love? We have this chance, I believe, I'm so in gratitude to be aware that we can just tap into our own inner peace and joy and love without the external world. We can do that. Some people haven't developed or been conscious to that, but at least, they have ways to trigger joy and love and peace and, within themselves. And if they have anger and, all these emotions, we do also have this amazing tool, Visantara, the emotional integration, to help us to regulate, to self-regulate and help also other people to regulate. So it's about seeking positive experience, but also, even in every experiences, there is always gains and benefit and opportunity to learn. And so always something to be grateful for, right? So learning to be grateful for even the things that hurt us, because it gives us opportunity to evolve, to grow, to expand, right? And so our mental reservoir, it's about our concentration, our memory, our judgment, our creativity, our, and again, if you are drained in your battery and you are under stress, you won't be able to think clearly, to be critical and have a global perspective, because under stress, you have a tunnel vision. And so you don't have access to your reasoning skills. You won't be able to be open even to new ideas. You won't be able to access your creativity, right? So when we are in the parasympathetic nervous system, which means we're not feeling in danger of anything, we feel safe, okay? It's really that feeling of feeling safe, because sometimes we don't necessarily feel we're in danger of something, but we don't feel safe. It might be, I don't feel safe to be with these people because I'm afraid that if I express my opinion, my needs, my limit, I'm afraid to be judged, criticized, persecuted. Okay. So we need that safety net, right? Because as human being, well, we're social, animals. So we need to feel in resilience, this ability to bounce back over very stressful events. When you're going on a sailing boat, well, of course, you're going to meet some winds. And so you need to have, support. And so having access to your social support is also very important. But in order to create bonds of trust and having meaningful connection, you need to have your own energy, right? So that foundation, the self, is extremely important. And as much as we need social, support, we can bring a horse to the water, but we cannot force them to drink, and we cannot drink for them. And that's our own responsibility. Okay. And so the spiritual world, well, it's about purpose, meaning, connection to the source, the humility, having the humility to recognize that I'm facing as human certain limits right now. And it's not to judge myself and criticize myself, it's the unification of your old self as human, as soul, as divine. It's the co-creation, right? We are responsible for our lives with the creator within ourselves. And so we need to feel that connection, we need to cultivate these virtue of hope and faith, right? Knowing the universe is providing, and in self, swasthya, right? And self-contained, but knowing as human, we need support as well, right? We are anchor in our soul esteem. This is a very interesting concept that I find that helps me to solidify myself. Is we have this, self-esteem, right? That it's based on the skills we've learned, and and the competence, and these abilities. But we're born with sets of skills and abilities and talent, but all the rest is at the potential level. Everything can be expanded and grow and develop. So it's important to have mentally this growth mindset, knowing that. But self-esteem is often based on, I have this, but I don't have this skill and you do, and we have comparison, and we can feel that we're not good enough at some times and that we are at some other times, because it's human skills, right? But the soul esteem is actually be connected to your own essence, to your own uniqueness. Who are you, this drop of the ocean that you are, that is unique, even though you are the ocean? But what is this flavor, this unique flavor? This is not something we develop, in life. We arrive, this is our soul, right? And so how can we be in service to the soul to experience, physically, but how can we also allow the soul and the divine to be in service? That's the soul esteem. I really like this. This helped me a lot to, when I was feeling not good enough and all these things that sometimes we're reaching out, we're seeking to, validation and getting the love and the validation from outside. But the soul esteem let us, feel that we have this specific uniqueness in service, and we can always draw from that, right? And so it flows more naturally. We're not trying to be somebody else or doing something else or force ourselves to do something, right? We just put our uniqueness in service. And so there's a flow, okay? Mindfulness, like I said, growth mindset, gratitude, forgiveness, all these virtue that helps us to live the human life, but from the perspective, understanding, right? And being able to go through life and accept and embrace and not resist, right? And just flow to the expansion of ourselves. So this one is very, very important, right? When you have optimal, at least 60%, of your batteries, then you have access to your skills and your abilities, which represent your internal resource, which we are responsible for that. Nobody can, like I said, do it for us, right? In order to, therefore, you can have optimal presence, attention, to listen, to share, to exchange, to support others. Okay, you are part of the support system of people that you have a bond of trust with, people that you feel safe with. Okay, so what is your level of satisfaction on we identified our battery, but what about the social piece of your balance life? Are you satisfied? Do you have a support network? Do you have people that you feel safe with, that you have significant relationship, meaningful connection that you can rely on, that you can reach out to, and that you are part of their support system and they are part of your support system, right? So what's your level of satisfaction on a scale of 1 to 10 of your social support system? Because this part too, you need to put energy to develop and create bonds with other people, with the community, the Sangha. That's why we have a Sangha. We recognize that as human, we need the Sangha. Okay, it could be your Sangha at work or your Sangha, you know, like it doesn't have to be the spiritual Sangha, right? So what's your level of satisfaction? And I would like maybe for you to either maybe write it down in the chat or for yourself, just to see where you're at, right? Your level of satisfaction in yourself. Do you take care of yourself? Do you sleep well? Do you do the activities that makes you feel alive and replenishes you and, you know, all your battery? That's your level of satisfaction on the self dimension. What is your level of satisfaction in the social dimension? This is very important to do that assessment, because then it'll help you to determine what's your priority to have optimal energy. Because what you do for the self will replenishes you, but the people you hang out with, the people that you share with, could also contribute to elevate your energy level, to replenishes you. Peaceful. So do you have, on a scale of 1 to 10, do you feel that you have a good support system? People that you can trust, people that doesn't drain your energy when you're spending time with, that actually the opposite replenishes you. Because this represents your external resources, okay? So when you have your internal resource and your external resources, then you have what it needs in terms of resources to contribute to the society, which is your work, right? And your second shift at home, your responsibility, your occupation, volunteering, studying, you know, studying is part of the work, kind of, you know. Is it aligned with your strengths, with your competence, with your interest? Do you have a sense of contribution? What is your level of satisfaction in this society? Do you feel that, you know, you're aligned? Do you feel that you actually contribute in an optimal way? Because when we do, it contributes to our happiness, to our satisfaction. We have a meaningful, happy, balanced life. It doesn't mean that we don't face the storm. Okay, absolutely. Okay, it's just when we're facing the storm, okay, let's go here. When we go on a sailing boat, well, no wind, you're going nowhere. So forget it, wind is going to happen. So wind is all the, whatever drains your battery, pull your, you know, because it's demanding. And so it could be, yes, your obligation, because even though you like it, after a day of work, you need to go rest. That's for sure, because at one point you're tired, even if you like it, right? But it's a good tiredness. We will say, oh, I'm tired, but it's a good fatigue, you know? So, but the wind allows you to thrive, to move forward. It's like a, you know, something that drives you. And so it's the life force, kind of, you know, like, so, but you need your strengths and you need your skills to adjust the sail. That's for sure. You need your internal resources. But you also, sometimes the winds will be 100 kilometers, and sometimes it will be north and east at the same time, or a little wind that keeps blowing constantly. At one point, you'll need your crew to say, hey, can you take over? I need to rest. Okay. And it's okay. It doesn't mean you're weak. So, you know, what creates these winds can come from any part, actually. Okay. Can come from work, something, complicated situation at work, we need to find solution. Conflict, whether it's professionally or personally, you know, we have relationship issues, and sometimes it's the self. You have a cold, you have chronic pain, you have anything, you know, that actually drains you. And so when you don't have the resources, the necessary resources, if your immune system is strong enough, boom, you might get out of this cold in a day. It might take you 5 days at another time when your immune system might not be strong enough, or you're under very much stress. Okay, so depending, it's constantly changing. The events itself are not what creates this unbalance in ourselves, right? It's actually because you can have a lot of demands, okay? You have a lot of demands on the plate. And if you have the resource, you're good to go. You might have only one demand on the plate, but if you have zero resources in your other plate in terms of resources, you have no energy, you have no skill, or you don't even have access to your own skill because you don't have energy, or you don't have the energy to learn new skills and ability, or you don't have support, well, it's going to tilt and you're going to feel unbalanced. Okay. So the more the stress is intense, the more we feel we're not in stress is about something that we feel that we might lose something. I might lose something important. I might actually, you feel threatened. The threat is not, like I said, about just dying. It could be any type of threat, okay? It could be about losing validation or the love. Ultimately, we don't say no because we're afraid, to be rejected and judged and therefore not loved anymore. Okay, very deep down there. So the more you drain your resource, the less you're able to manage and deal with the real life, but also just enjoying life and expanding yourself. Okay. So do you realize how important your own reservoir is essential to be supportive to others, whether it's volunteering or, doing any type of contribution, because it will impact your three reservoir: physical, emotional, mental, and eventually, of course, it will impact your spiritual reservoir, because we change our perception on life. We lose connection. We say, I don't feel it anymore. I don't feel connected anymore. I don't feel grounded, and all these things, right? And so physically you might have, headaches, tension, stomach problem, don't sleep, emotionally you become more irritable and grumpy and maybe anger and anxious and fear. And, so it's like little lights in your dashboards. Are you aware of the signs that gets you off balance? So when you take the pulse of your battery, then it's like, okay, is it more physical? You have identified already. Oh, it's maybe more emotional. So I might need to do something to take care of my emotional plane, to release the emotion, to regulate, and to also create new feeling of, this flavor in your emotional plane. It's like yogurt, it's nature, not, no flavor. But then, whoops, we think of something nice, a good memory, or what we're going to do, the place we're going to go on vacation, whatever it is, right? Your pet, anybody, right? Anything, you think of something, or you do an action that you love, and oof, or you just go meditate and just feel into the joy, or simple joy, or love, or, peace. And therefore, it will is going to be tainted, the flavor, right? And so which reservoir do you need to take care of? Is it more mental? Concentration, negative thinking, imagining the worst, okay? Just not being able to focus, to concentrate, the memory could be impacted. You don't have access to your creativity. Okay, so of course it will have these little signs, these little lights in your dashboard will increase in quantity and intensity and in duration. And at some point you'll become dysfunctional. And you can have mental health disorder, like, anxiety disorder, depression, and adjustment disorders, and burnout, and all these things, because we are drained out. Okay. So priority management, we have a list of things to do. We want to contribute, we want to serve. Okay. But in order to do that, what's your top priority? I would ask you, think about what's your three, because there's a lot, your three top priorities. Okay, would like to think you about that. What are your three top priority? Priority means what's important to you. That's your values. That gives you meaning and purpose and joy and energy, right? Makes sense. What are your three top things? Maybe I would like you to write it down or just say it to me, share, you know. Without going in detail, just what are the 3 top things that are so important to you? Take the time to just identify it. And there's more, of course, like I said, right? But just think about these ones. Myself, my kids, and work. Okay. Can you be more specific? Myself, what's priority about myself? Is it going to the gym? Is it to eat healthy? Is it to sleep? Is it to play piano? Is it like, you know, myself means what? Because we need to bring this down in order to be able to put it in an agenda, because priority has to fit in an agenda, because otherwise, if you don't put it in the agenda, everything else will take over, because there's way much to do than the time and energy available. Okay. So be more specific. Your kids, what does it mean? Spending quality time with them, making sure that they do their homework and they grow, you know, like what is it about it? And your work. Okay. What about your work is your priority? What makes you happy? Your level of satisfaction in the work environment. Are you satisfied about your work? What's your level of satisfaction? 60% is the best. Okay. It's like happiness. There's things that bothers us, but it doesn't affect our level of happiness. Okay. So work, there's things that bothers us, but what is your level of, satisfaction in the work environment? Are you satisfied? And if not, then it's areas where you can identify what drains you, what would make you feel happy and satisfied in order to put your attention, in order to put your energy in there so you can actually lift your energy. Okay, being in service, how would that be? And I just push you to go more deeper, more clear, more specific, okay? Being of service, how being in service is so important to you, how? Okay. It definitely will fit into these 3 dimensions, for sure. You'll fit it somewhere. All your 3 will fit there at one point, okay? So we need, in order to be balanced, we need to put time and energy in things, because all these things will make us be balanced. Balance is not fixed and static. The winds are coming. Okay, we don't wait till there's 100-kilometer wind to adjust the sail. As soon as, whoops, there's something's pulling. Okay, let's find that balance again. What pulls my energy? What gives me my energy? And I would like you to do that on your own time, but make a list of what energizes you and what drains you. And there's something somewhere in these dimensions that will drain you and what will replenishes you. And like I said, these things could change over time. Whatever replenishes me, maybe right now it drains me. So it gives me an indication, maybe I should not go for a run of 5K because, or maybe I should say no. Because by saying yes, it's going to make me shift, and then I will be in trouble. And I will not necessarily be optimal in terms of service, okay? So imagine, okay, this is a jar that represents time. Limited, right? It's limited. Human time is limited, okay? And so you want to fill it with golf balls. Is there more room there? Yeah, there's still more room. You can, little space there. You can actually add little pebbles, right? It's going to fill out the spaces. And then it's like, okay, there's still more room. So we're going to add some sand here just to fill out all the little space here. And we can still put water. Can we put more? Do you think we can put more? Yeah. What's going to happen if you put anything more after the water is full? What's going to happen? Maribel, you said yes, but What's going to happen if you put more?
I don't know the word in English. Se derrama, you know. It's,
Exactly. Overflow. It's going to overflow. So the lesson in there, it's not there's always room because it's going to overflow. There's a limit. Can you respect your limit? Are you aware of your limit of the moment? It can be different from one day to another. Of course, today I want to do this and this and this on the list, but my level of energy is not that great. So maybe it's not realistic. So it's a constant check-in, right? And if you just put the water first, what's going to happen? You won't be able to put nothing else. All the pebbles and nothing will fit in. In order for in this time frame to fit the golf ball, the pebbles and the sand and the water, the odor is important. You need to put the golf ball first, because if you don't put them first, they will never go in. Never. If you put anything else before. And what are the golf balls represents? What actually is important to you. What replenishes you, what energizes you, what makes this life force flow so you can do all the things you have on your list. Okay? You need to put the golf ball first. So it's about, do you have the required energy physically, emotionally, mentally to do the task, the obligation, or even an activity that you love, spending time with your loved one or playing piano or whatever it is, right? When you manage your priority, it has to be based on available energy. Do I have the available energy right now to do, Janelle, yes, she loves to do Qigong and it energizes her, but right now she doesn't have the energy to do that. Who told me is Suki at first, you were mentioning, that it was hard because you want to be in service and remind me what you were saying about, your challenge that you face regarding supporting others and caregiver, right?
Caregiver.
So what seems to be, because I had a feeling of there's something's pulling that I'm not able to be fully optimal in that position right now. Was that the case or?
It's more a case of relating to your conversation. I find that if I do not consider it to be my choice to do something, that I'm resentful. I have to make it a positive choice that I want to do what it is that I am doing, as opposed to I'm being forced to do it.
And what makes you feel that you're forced to do it?
It's a responsibility I can't get out of. It's an obligation that somebody has placed on me or I have accepted when I didn't want to.
Often you put a very important point here. A responsibility I took that I didn't want to. Yep. Were you aware that you didn't want to at the moment?
Most assuredly. Drug me right through the doorway with me hanging on to the frame. I did not want to go through.
So what makes you feel that you have to, even though you don't want to?
It's my spouse.
Your what? Your spouse?
My spouse.
Okay. And but that's external. Let's look internal. What inside you make you say yes or not able to say no, I cannot do this, or I don't, I that my priority right now, it's something else, or like in terms of I cannot, because if I ask you, okay, do you have a bottle of water? Now you do? Okay.
Yeah.
So my bottle is empty. Could you please give me some? Sure. Okay. So you're going to fill my bottle and I'm going to say, well, can I get a little bit more? Because I really need some.
I'll give you what I can.
What is what I can mean for you?
Well, it depends on my assessment of the situation. Are you starving in the middle of a desert and you need that water? Or are you on a corner where you could go get a bottle of water from your own 7-Eleven?
Okay, so you're I'm in the desert and my life depends on it. but you are also in the desert.
Mhm.
And you know that if you give me all your water, you might not have enough energy to get to the next point of water.
That's true.
So what are you going to do?
Again, sacrifice. I'm of service.
So you're going to die?
Potentially.
Potentially. Okay.
Yes.
But this, like you say, it's a choice, but there is a conflict inside because there's resentment.
Mhm.
That's the key, right? The resentment, it's the part of you who say, well, what about me? You taking care of everybody else? Well, you're not taking care of me.
I don't want to take care of me. I want somebody else to take care of me.
Aha. Yes. Bravo. Bravo. I mean, no, but awareness is the first, mindfulness is another.
Of course.
So you want somebody else to take care of you.
It's
Mhm.
only fair. I've been doing it long enough. It's my
It's
turn.
only fair. Okay. It's only fair. So then what do you need to lose? When you need to mourn to be at peace? Because when we are resentful, we're not at peace,
That's
right?
true. It's a good question. I'm not sure because for me, the dilemma is either be of service and sacrifice
Mhm.
or not be in service and anguish over not doing so.
Mhm. So there are a few key points to look at, right? About that. So first, there's a belief. Okay, we say in French, maybe Ram, you can help me with that because I don't know in English what would it be, but in French there's a saying we say le don de soi n'est pas au détriment de soi. So giving is not to your own detriment, but we have this belief in our society that you should give, otherwise you're selfish, right? To your own detriment. So there's a belief piece, right? That if you want, because if you want to keep that belief, it's yours. And just like when you say, I eat cheese and it hurts me, well, don't eat cheese. Yeah, but I like it. Right? And if you don't like it, don't remember. So, so if you want to keep that belief, just then what do you need to mourn in order to be at peace? It's a choice. It's just a choice. There's no bad or wrong, right? So if you choose to do that, how can you take care of that resentment part? Because we cannot force people to take care of ourselves, to take care of us, right? And so when we have, because this belief that you have to take care of others, so therefore other people have to take care of you, then it gets you in that space where you will always be disappointed because people will not necessarily be, serving you in the sense that they will fulfill all your needs. And we cannot
even if they tried, they'd never meet my expectations.
Exactly.
Of course,
Exactly.
of course, of
exactly.
course.
So we're bent to stir into resentment and anger and maybe
that's why I started out with it has to be a choice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So when I feel the resentment, I have to look back at it and offer to myself, you made this obligation or commitment. You meant to do so. Why? Either follow through with it or decline and apologize for not being able to do it.
Yeah.
But it has to be my choice. Otherwise, I'm resentful.
Yeah.
And you don't want me doing things when I'm resentful.
No,
it's not good for anybody.
Nobody wants that.
No.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. So what can you do? Because we're always about our responsibility. We can ask people, but this assertiveness, do you consider yourself in terms of communication style assertive, passive aggressive? Like, how would you consider yourself? With no judgment, of course, we're just stating here.
I'm an introvert that fakes it very well as an extrovert, so it kind of depends. If I'm playing extrovert, I can be very dominating and very aggressive. If I'm being an introvert, I'll say I don't care when I really do.
Okay, I'm just gonna separate these things here because extroverted and introverted are not necessarily related to being more assertive or not. Okay, introverted people can be very assertive and extroverted people can be very passive aggressive.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, So it's more about, that's it. If you choose to be, and sometimes it's not a choice. It's not a conscious choice. Okay. We're responsible. We do, but it's not a conscious choice. So sometimes, when we are more passive aggressive, because assertiveness, it's the recognition that we have the right to have opinions, to have needs, and to have limits, and others as well. So we're recognized. So there's a respect of our own opinions, our own needs and limits, and we're respecting that others has as well. And we have the responsibility to express these opinions and needs and limits. Of course, that's why we need to have a safe space with these people that I was telling you about earlier. We need to have this safe space, because otherwise we're not feeling safe enough to express that. So our responsibility is to, to create bonds and connection with people that we feel safe with. Okay. So, but the assertiveness, it's about, recognizing the rights, but also taking the responsibility, because yes, you are allowed to ask me 10 times and I am allowed to say yes, and I am allowed to say no. And when we are in a passive aggressive, we're expecting people, well, they should know better. They should not ask me that, or they should know, and they should realize how I am, and they should propose and, help, or whatever it is, right? We have expectations. And it's this thing about responsibility. And I'm not talking about blame here, right? I'm really talking about taking responsibility, and taking responsibility. And I'm going to give you an example. Okay. That I think that maybe you'll relate to that. The experience, not the situation. Okay. So Christmas time, my relationship with my mother is really difficult, and it drains me deeply. So I'm working on that piece, because it's very deep work and whatever, but it still depletes me. And at Christmas time, she was supposed to go to my brother. Finally, she fell and she couldn't go anywhere. And she's about 3-hour drive from where I am. And I didn't want to go, but I felt guilty, and I felt that I had to be in service and go to help her. But I knew that if I would go there, I would be totally depleted. And I had not much energy for myself at that moment. And somebody told me, and I said, well, I need to be responsible, right? Because we think that responsible, it's about others, it's about actions that we do or not. And she reminded me that the responsibility is about me. You need to be responsible of yourself. So being responsible, she says, might not mean that you will go there. You might help her find help and support in her area, but responsibility starts with ourselves. And I needed to, accept that right now, my responsibility to take care of myself in order to not be resentful, and not because I was getting very resentful that she even fell. And I was like, wow, how bad am I, to be even resentful because she fell and she didn't make it. She didn't do that on purpose. Right. So it was more about, okay, so I said, my responsibility is to take care of myself. And right now I don't have the energy, and I know it's going to drain me. I know for a fact. And so I need to take care of that. And so I needed to also go into, what do I need to mourn in order to be at peace with that? Well, I needed to mourn the fact that I might not get love and acceptance from her, and I could maybe get judged, and so I was not going to get embraced and loved and appreciated and whatever. Ultimately love. It's ultimately love, right? So I had to, because I didn't, to me, look like the bad daughter, therefore judgment was harder for me to accept than my own resentment, and then my resentment for doing it. So I had to manage this, the conflict outside, it's usually a conflict within. So where is your inner conflict? Where is your inner conflict? And responsibility, because when we learn to take responsibility for ourselves and we leave the other their own responsibility, it doesn't mean that we cannot be in service. And maybe there is a belief there, right? I don't know what's your belief under there, but what would it look like? What would be the worst thing? And that's a question that you don't have to answer me now. If you do have an answer, fine. But if you don't, please reflect on, well, I mean, I invite you to reflect on that, okay? What would be the worst thing that could happen if you take care of your own, needs, and therefore you're responsible? If you're responsible for yourself and you let the other people be responsible for themselves, what would be the worst thing that could happen for you? Not in general, but for you. What would be the worst thing that could happen? And there might not be an answer that comes up right now.
They'll die.
They'll die.
Yeah, they will no longer be in my life.
Are they going to die literally, you meant, or they're not going to be?
Yeah, no, I mean literally. I'm a caregiver, dear.
Okay, literally, they're going to die. Okay. And nobody, but I mean, so for you, if you take care of yourself, that means that you cannot be in service. That's what I'm hearing. Is it?
No. Well, you asked me what was the worst thing that could happen if I did not do.
If you take care of your responsibility for yourself, I mean, not to not serve them.
Okay. Okay.
You see, that's very, and that's what I think where maybe it's intertwined. The belief that taking care of others has to be to my detriment, because if I'm responsible and taking care of me, that means that I will not take care of others.
No, not quite. But
Okay.
I understand what you're saying.
So how can you see it possible to be a caregiver and help others, but still be responsible? Because when you said, if I'm not, because let's not mix things here. There's things that it's your job. Okay. You're a caregiver, but when you were saying about your husband, for example, right? Are you caregiver for your husband? Maybe you are.
Yes.
Okay. You are for your husband. Okay. So because
First my mother, who's now dead, and now for my husband.
Okay. So it's not your job necessarily professionally, is that?
No, I am the support system you're talking about needing to create.
Okay, perfect. Okay. So they're going to die. Well, is there anybody else? So your responsibility, let's say, okay, of respecting certain limits, to not be resentful, for example. Could that be, like I said, for example, when I say, okay, I'm going to help find resources around. So if I cannot do it, can I, is there anybody else that could, because do you think that if you're not there, they're necessarily going to die? There's going to be no one else that could actually take care of them?
Well, one can get elaborate or extreme in your examples. The point is that for my mother, she was a 4-hour drive away, a very difficult person to get along with, and I fell very short from her tree. So the two of us were not a good combination.
Yeah. So
instead, I hired people who came in and took care of her.
Exactly.
So I found another way to make sure she got what she needed so we could still keep our relationship.
Perfect.
And I did not have resentment toward her.
Exactly.
I have not been able to do something similar yet with my husband.
Yeah, perfect.
And that is something I'm currently working on. But I completely agree and endorse what you're offering. I appreciate immensely that you point out that many of us become so wrapped up in the assessment of who else is going to do it. Yeah. I have to do it, whatever that obligation comes out as. Yeah. You're very carefully and clearly showing that's a false conclusion. And I really appreciate your taking the time to show that to all of us. Thank you.
Well, my pleasure. And I mean, we're all in the same boat, right? We're all navigating through this oceans of winds, and it's not easy. Okay. And it's not easy. I mean, when we are we need to dig, because inside nobody exactly will take care necessarily of us, right? We can ask, maybe it's about asking, maybe it's about asking help for you. It's maybe not about so much, if for you the caregiving is so nourishing and all that, you need to replenish your battery. Well, then maybe you can ask for help for other things that are impacted by, could be cleaning up, doing, cooking, or whatever else other tasks and responsibility you have. Maybe it's about asking help. either to do the caring for the for the person that you're a caregiver for, maybe find other resources to help you with that, or help you with other things. I remember my partner, I never had a cleaning lady. I always cleaned everything. I always did everything in my life, always. And one point I was with this man, and he told me, oh, we'll have a cleaning lady. I said, what do you mean we're going to have a cleaning lady? He says, Sandra, energy management. I said, what do you mean? He says, how much energy it's going to take you to do that, and how much is going to cost you for, let's say, the same amount of time. So let's say 1 hour of cleanup. How much do you make, for an hour when you do your job, and you feel you're contributing and you're replenishing with your job, and how much is going to cost you to give somebody money to do the cleanup, let's say. That hour, but it's more than an hour to clean up, right? It was like this 3-4 hours. He says, imagine what you can do with it. So the price you're paying, literally money, compared to what you can do as money in 4 hours to work, or to replenishes in another way. Sometimes, of course, money, we don't have the money, but he says, sometimes it was not a matter of money. But I said, well, why would I do that? I can do. He says, yeah, but see how much you can do. So get some help. Maybe he said to me, get some help with the cleaning, so you have more quality time with the kids, because it was about the kids and, too much to do. And so I said, oh, okay, maybe it's an idea. So that's what we end up doing. And I realized that sometimes getting help with certain things that really, for me, doing cleanup was really draining. A friend of mine, she loves to do cleaning. She says, I calm down, I relax. I said, okay, perfect for you, but not for me. But for her, it's, it's not the same experience. So what do you need? Sometimes it's about, maybe it's about asking help. Sometimes it's about saying no. Maybe you can't say no, but is it about, to what extent are you going to say yes to your own detriment? And maybe it's about asking help. Maybe that's the challenge for other people. And maybe that's also yours. I don't know, Suki, because you were saying say no, but do you feel that it's also a challenge for you to ask for help?
I would suggest that the reason my mom and I didn't get along, she's a control freak. I didn't fall far from her tree, which made me a control freak. I can call myself a recovering control freak at this time.
Okay.
I'm still working on it.
Okay.
But my point is, we all have an aesthetic. Like artists, we have an idea of how we should be presented to the world. I'm going to suggest that most of the women in this visit today have all cleaned their house before their mother got there, or before the housekeeper got there. Okay, we have an image of ourselves, of what we want the world to see us as. So if I think I'm strong, I'm supposed to be presenting an image of myself as a certain way. Asking for help is weakness. It's going against that aesthetic. The same thing for accepting help. Being willing to let other people do things. It gets you to your destination just a different way. Doesn't make it wrong. It's just different. So for many of us, myself included, again, back to what you were offering, is that it's how we feel we're presenting ourselves to the world and keeping that image intact to our own detriment.
And this image, it gives you what, right? This validation, this love,
Self-pride.
Right? Pride, self-pride. So, because we need to, if we learn, well, we need to, because it's always a matter of choice and it's always different experiences, nothing wrong in here, right? So when we choose, right, to give ourselves this validation, this recognition, this, then it's way more easier to not be, pushing and pulling in terms of pushing away the situation that makes me look bad or, judged, and trying to, do things the way that it should be. We're actually letting go. We're more free. Okay. There's more freedom. I'm like you. My mother was a OCD and cleanup. So, and when I moved to Montreal from, let's say, 2 hours drive, and I would say to myself, she can never arrive at any moment at my place and say that my place was like a pig house, because that's what she used to say. And then at some point I was able to release, but you know, when we work on our giving ourselves the validation and the recognition, and sometimes we don't realize, but we agree to these judgment. We agree to these beliefs that if it's not done in a certain way, that means it's a pig house. Well, I had to change my, you know, my perspective and my beliefs, right? And as long as we believe what people say, that's when we're impacted. And when I feel that I'm impacted, I'm like, oh, if I'm impacted, there's a part of me, conscious or not, usually unconscious, that I am actually believing that. I do, because if, you know, if I tell you that you're a piece of shit, well, if you don't believe you're a piece of shit, you're going to say, well, you can think whatever you want, but I don't believe that, right? So it might make me a bit sad that you maybe don't appreciate me, but I'm not gonna, my life or my love or my, you know, my sense of who I am won't depend on that, right? I remember there was somebody who told me one day, if there's nobody on your side, everybody's judging you, criticizing you, whatever it is, are you at least on your own side with yourself? And I realized I wasn't. And that's the self-esteem, right? And the believing that we need the external validation. But I realized that's what I was believing myself. So I needed to be more kind to myself. I need to be more gentle to myself. You know, and giving myself the responsibility that I've been talking about since almost the beginning. The responsibility is about, you know, giving myself what I need. And I had a misconception, you know, belief that if I take care of myself, nobody will. Because for me, the danger, if I did when I ask you, what is the worst thing that could happen, is that I'm going to be alone, and I don't want to be alone. But then I realized that, oh, wait a minute here. This is a belief who says that if I take care of myself, I will be alone. But no, people will be there anyway. It's not going to be necessarily, oh, I help you, you help me. I can take care of myself, but taking care of myself doesn't mean that I'm disconnecting from people. It just means that I learn to be on my own side and love myself and give myself. And whenever somebody gives me love through anything, whether it's validation or whatever it is, support or anything, then it's a bonus. I'm not fully there yet. I can understand that it could be hard to get there. You know, it's not easy, Pat. But I'm working on that, and I realize that being more kind to me, more holding space for myself and taking care of my needs and give myself what I need to replenish and recharge and makes me feel happy. And it actually, I need it less from others, but it doesn't make me an egocentric, selfish, that I don't care about others either. You know, like the connection is there, is just a bit more healthier for me, because then there's no resentment. I don't feel that I have to, you know, always struggle. But we need to visit our beliefs and see what belief we want to hold on to, right? Is this good for me? And what does it tell me about me? What is it telling me? When I hear something outside, whatever's going outside is often the reflection of what's going inside. So what do I need to be aware of? Where do I do that with myself? You know, and you said it, control is something I also struggle a lot about, letting go and control. You know, I don't have the control, and this is one of the hardest things that I have to do, to practice, to develop this kind of letting go of control. But the more I do, and the more I am responsible, the more I am at peace, the more I can be in relation and connection in a more healthy way for me anyways, that's for me, and way more healthy and way more free. And it flows, you know, the energy, then there's an exchange of energy. And there's no this expectation, because under expectation, then we get upset, because then we're sad, because we're disappointed, and, you know, the whole pattern, right, of deception. And so, but it's really big, right? All these things about not being able to say no and asking for help and all this, there's a whole bunch of potential, like like Maha talks about, you know, the potential that comes up, the behaviors, the beliefs that we had and that we didn't decide upon, right? When we grew up, we have all these things that we capture like a sponge. And at one point we have to say, okay, wait, is this resonate for me? Am I in my own integrity? Am I in my own integrity, living in my own integrity, taking care of my needs? Because when I do, I'm more replenished, I'm more recharged, and therefore I'm more able to be in service. And that's the key, right? Because it's because we want to be in service. So the strategy to short circuit the stress response, because when we are under stress is because, you know, we don't feel that we have what it takes to respond to the demand, the obligation, the task, or the win that is coming, you know, the stressor, the whatever challenge that is coming our way, that we don't have maybe access to our energy, our skills, you know, or support, right? And so it's about replenishing, okay, your reservoir. So quickly, I don't want to go too much in that, but, you know, quickly, there are some tips and tricks when you realize that your battery, you're getting depleted, you get, you know, depleted literally, right? And you are under stress. Deep breathing will stop the stress response and your body is going to calm your body. You know, it's going to send the message to your brain that, okay, I'm not in danger right now. So then I will be having access to my creativity, thinking, finding solution, right? Physical activity is a natural exutoire for the stress that will release emotions and stress hormones and toxins like your cold, you know, like, but to the capacity of what we can at this moment, you know, the thoughts on its own, you know, like, do you have a positive outlook? Do you have a resilience mindset, a growth mindset, self-regulation in terms of emotion, asking for help immediately? And of course, on the long term, letting go, learning to let go, accepting whatever, stop pushing and pulling, and accepting, embracing, I would say, you know, really letting go. It's about embracing whatever is going on and seeing how does it serve me here? This experience is there for me. I'm in gratitude for the opportunity of evolution here, right? And therefore we can act on things we have control over, and to evaluate the limitation belief. This is something we need to do. And journaling, helping you to identify what's going on. Where are you at? Taking the pulse on your emotions, on your energy, physical energy level of your mental plane, right? To see the little lights in your dashboard, but also to make conscious choice. Right now, if I don't have the energy, and I'm going to finish with this example because I think it's a very good example. And before I do the example, long-term here, you can see all the normal, natural stuff that we should put in your agenda, because in your agenda, if there's only obligation, task, and responsibility, you will never have time to do what you need to self-care and to make sure that the batteries are at least 60%. It's not about not using the phone, the strategy. It's about to plug it in more regularly. Quality of what you do and regularity. Plug it in regularly during the day. You will not go below, 60. That's an example, of course, an analogy. Okay. But it's about, not wait till you're empty to start replenish and recharge. Okay. So this man came to me and he says, my wife wants me to do the homework with my kids when we come out for, came after work. He's tired, he's crying, it takes 2 hours, we get to dinner, everybody's in a bad mood, and then we have to do the dishes and swipe the floor. I don't even have time to go for a walk. And I'm like, okay, no time, probably no energy. What time do you finish your chore? 8 o'clock. What time do you go to bed? 10 o'clock. What do you do in between? I'm exhausted. I'm on my couch because I can't do nothing anymore. I don't even have the energy to have quality time. Okay. So when you arrive and do the homework, where are you at? Oh, he says, I'm so tired. I feel like if I would have a 20-minute nap, I would be good to go. And your kid, where is your kid level of, energy? Well, he's hungry. Well, when you're hungry and you're tired, you're not very good at doing homeworks. So I said, well, what about, you rest, you let your child play, you have nice meal, you have quality time. And right after you do the homework, he says, well, I'm going to ask my wife because, the list of things to do, we need to do this and this and this and this and that, and then we can rest. Well, I'm sorry, but look what it looked like, right? I said, if you replenish, both of you, anyways, try it, you know? He said, okay, we do that. Instead of taking 2 hours to do the homework, it took 45 minutes. And on top, the child felt competent because he was understanding his homework. He was able to feel that he was producing and being, you know, like he was able to do his homework, even laugh, he said, having fun doing chores, which was the homework. It took less time, more efficient, more pleasant, and he gained time. He says, well, I gained time, so I had a chance to go for a walk. And on top, bonus, he slept better. Same time frame. Okay. So sometimes it's not about do or not do. It's maybe just reorganizing the priority. And sometimes if take 2 scale, on a scale of 1 to 10 this morning, where am I in my battery? And what is my level of stress on a scale of 1 to 10? And so what is my list of things to do? Is it realistic? Maybe I need to take a little moment, quality and regularity. I'm going to take 10 minutes to we took 2 minutes at the beginning and you already felt a difference. So it's not about the quantity. It's the quality of what you do and the regularity. Give yourself, fuel and plug in on a more regular basis to depending what it's needed for what you have to do. And ask yourself, what replenishes me? What depletes me? What can I do in my agenda where I put my attention to actually be able to replenish and recharge? And therefore, I feel more optimal, experiencing life better, being able to serve better. But respecting limits is essential because it will overflow. Reality of the humanity is that time is limited and energy as well. So even though you replenish, you recharge to the max of your capacity, you will still might have limits, encounter limits because, that's the way it is. And so respecting the limits and not judging yourself for, oh, I'm not good enough, I should be able to do that. Whatever it is, the phone is not, well, this is no good for nothing, throw this in the garbage. Remember that. It's not about who you are. It's about resources available at the moment and what you can do. And sometimes it's going to be saying no to certain things and ask for help. And if you do have hard time about this, maybe you need to dig a little bit deeper about your beliefs, about how it serves you. What do you need to mourn? What do you need to let go to be at peace with that? Okay, there's other work to do around it. This is not, just one thing and boom, magic, This is one perspective, but there are a lot of things around that we can talk even more about it. But, just to give you about an overview about that thing. So the key to have a meaningful, happy life, it's balance. We need to stay balanced. Balance is not fixed and static. We will have days that we're going to, the boat is going to float, but it's all about actually optimal energy. And optimal energy doesn't mean the phone is not always 100%. It's normal that it goes down, okay? But it's about quality and regularity to replenish and recharge, right? And of course, therefore, in your priority, in your agenda, optimal energy should be part of your agenda, your priority, okay? It's not all the answer. I recognize that. That's not the only answer here. This is a piece of answer. And hopefully, maybe it helps you to be more aware of certain things or give you tips to dive a bit, dig a little bit deeper to see, what seems to block you or be the resistance here, right? The depletion of your energy, what do you have control over, right? And the things you don't to let go. And so it's maybe give you a little bit of indicators of where to look into in terms of finding balance, because just like resilience, it doesn't mean that you don't fall down. So balance is not about always be afloat. No, it's about managing these waters. Okay. So I know we went a bit over, Any questions or any comments? I would like to hear you about, what did you get out of this? Absolutely no problem, Maribel.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
Stay healthy, Janelle.
Yes, so happy to see you. Big hug, big kisses and hug.
I